Chef Jerry, take it away. We're hopping into
Alrighty, guys. So we just finished up discussing the assignment. We did have a little bit of a rant at the beginning of the live session, but we want to ensure that you guys are actually executing these things properly. We don't want to continue to just let things go like this, just continuously lose points. So it's a little bit better if we do go ahead and talk about it, even though we did take up about half an hour. But now you guys understand what we're looking for in terms of the narrative and in terms of the mise en place picture, sorry. Another thing, I forgot to say it earlier, but make sure that you're in full uniform, hat, chef coat, apron. About half of my students have not been in apron, so I'm a little bit concerned as to why I've had so many this first week. So just ensure hat, chef coat, apron, and then the week and the date. If for some reason you do not have your skull cap or you don't have the apron that was sent to you, let us know. Just talk to us, guys. We're very flexible when it comes to these things, and unless you talk to us, there's no way for us to know. So let us jump right into the history of Mexico. So a little bit of disclaimer, guys. I'm feeling a little bit off today. I did have a family emergency earlier today where my grandma was sent to the hospital. I arrived and the paramedics were outside. Her house is usually where I drop off my daughter. She's back home now. She just had a little bit of vertigo. She is 71 years old. So I've just been a little bit off today.
I'm so sorry. Praise for you.
Thank you so much. She's back home, so everything is good. She just had a little bit of a scare because she got dizzy. She was on new medication, but just thankfully everything is all good. So let us get right into it then. So first and foremost, my class knows already, but this was one of the first things that I told them. My family is actually Mexican. I grew up between the United States and Mexico. Chef Catherine is living in Mexico now, so we have a lot of experience when it comes to this. Just the population of Mexico, so we can just start off, is actually 129 million. And 25 million of those people, so almost 20% of them, live in Mexico City. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys so we can just go ahead and this one over here, so we can see where Mexico is located. So where is it? Right under the U.S. So here we have California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Those are the bordering countries to it. Chef Catherine is down over here in this region. My family is from right over here. So if you guys have watched any of those documentaries on Netflix where they talk about El Chapo, that is where my family is from. It is in Culiacan, Sinaloa. So yeah, drug capital of the world, haha. But let us continue on here. So within Mexico, there are actually 7 different food regions. And when we get to these other countries, we're going to see that the food gets very, very regional. The food at the north of Mexico is very, very different from what you find in the southern parts of Mexico. So I just want to make sure that we get that across right now. The north, the Pacific, so there is the north of Mexico, which is all these bordering countries up here. We have the North Pacific coast, which covers these over here. We have El Bajío, which goes a little bit further down. Then there's the South Pacific coast, which is over here. Down over here, sorry. And then we have the Gulf of Mexico, which is over here. And then we have all of Central Mexico, which is right over here, this just cluster of just so many things, right? So those are the 7 different regions. And within each of them, the food is going to be very different. You'll find a lot of different ingredients, different styles of foods, different flavors. But one thing that is consistent across all of Mexico is that there is a lot of corn. As we talked about earlier, there's a lot of chile. So no matter where you go, there's going to be food that has chile in it. And like Chef was saying earlier, it's not all about spice. You can have a chile guajillo, which is going to add this beautiful bright red color and just little soft earthy tones. You can have a chile pasilla, which is a darker chile that's going to add this beautiful fruity flavors to your food. Or you can have a chile de árbol that is going to just burn your tongue and just give you that beautiful heat that you're looking for. So just know that not
Is that like the corn and stuff like that too?
I'm sorry?
The corn, where they have like, it's like this white sauce and stuff like that. They have on the corn, and then they have chili sauce.
Oh, so that's actually just mayo. You're talking about an esquite or a corn that has it has mayo, it has cheese, it has butter, and then chile over the top of it. They're so good. But yeah, that's actually just mayo that they put on top of those. But yeah, so just those are going to be some ingredients that you're going to see. Corn, chili, seafood, and of course, cheese. Cheeses are huge in Mexico. You see them made from the north all the way to the south, and very similar to like what you see in Europe, where they have different types, soft cheeses, hard cheeses, just fresh cheeses. All that stuff you're going to find in Mexico here as well. a lot of what you still see eaten today in Mexico was originally influenced from the Mayan and the Aztec tribes. So unfortunately, with the northern part of Mexico, a lot of that stuff has been lost. That is actually where most of the European influence actually came through, and they kind of conquered that area. But the further south you go into Mexico, the more you have that indigenous population, and the more those foods that are passed down from generation to generation are going to be seen. Spanish is actually something that is very recent as a national language to Mexico. For the most part, it's less than 200 years old that it became the national language. A lot of these people were speaking their native dialect from their Native American times, essentially, right? All of Canada, Canada, USA, Mexico, these are all considered North America, and it is all the Americas. So just this I want you guys to not think of when you think I'm American, it's not just because you live in the United States. Everybody from Canada all the way down to Brazil, these are all people from the American continent, North and South. Mexico City used to be the largest city in the world in terms of population, but now it is Tokyo, which has 27 million people. We did talk earlier that Mexico City has 25 million. So it was the largest until recently, and this is actually, I had it over here, a picture of Mexico City right here. So with this, you can see just how far it stems. This is one whole city. The difference between this, and we'll talk about it in the Japan week as well, between this and Tokyo, is that Tokyo has a lot of skyscrapers. Tokyo is a lot smaller in terms of surface area, but it has more people because they've built upward as opposed to building outward. One of the crazy fun facts about Mexico City is that it's actually basically built on top of a giant lake. All of it is built on top of water. That is why whenever they get earthquakes, it is really, really bad in that city. Let's say a size 3, 4 earthquake is not going to be the same here in the US as it is in Mexico City. It's going to cause it to shake a lot more because there's no stable surface under. What these guys started doing was they started just grabbing trees and roots and leaves and all this stuff and just building artificial islands. And that is basically how this city came to be. There's a whole history on it. I'll make sure that we share that with you guys so you guys can get an understanding, but it's a crazy story behind it. So Mexico City is actually a city that has some of the top restaurants in the world. Mexican cuisine has been defined as an intangible heritage of humanity, meaning that the preservation of this way of eating is vital to the survival of the traditional culture. One of the things that we'll talk about when we get to Italy is how pastas are becoming pretty much extinct. A lot of people are not passing on those traditions to the next generation, and these varieties of pastas are being lost. So with Mexico, that happened a lot in the northern section, but in the south, you still see things cooked traditionally the way they were hundreds and thousands of years ago. So Mexican cuisine infuses.
Are you from Mexico?
Yes. Sorry, I'm gonna have to mute you. It's a little bit loud. But yeah, my family is from Mexico. I was born here, but I grew up between here and there. Anytime I was off of school for summer, for winter, I spent more Halloweens or Dia de los Muertos over there than I spent Halloweens here. So about half of my childhood was over there. So where was I? Okay, so Mexican cuisine infuses pre-conquered techniques. So all of the cooking techniques of the natives that were here with post-conquered ingredients. So all the stuff that was brought over from Europe, still using the techniques of ancient societies and applying them to the new products from Europe, creating a kind of fusion cuisine. And we've talked about it last week, just kind of the dark, ugly part of history. And that kind of ties into this as well. We talked about the slave trade here in Mexico or in all of the Americas, South America, Central America. What happened was the Europeans came over and they were not nice. Like history tells us, they had picnics and shared cranberry sauce and turkeys and stuff. That was not the case. Let's be real, we're all adults here. What happened was they came, they pillaged, they raped, and they conquered. So that same thing happened with Mexico. The Europeans came, they conquered the natives, and they made us, which is the kind of hybrid between the two of them, which is fantastic though. You get this kind of fusion of both of these, the best of both worlds with the cuisine now. While the history might not be the prettiest thing, it has led to just some fantastic food. So let me actually go ahead and share this picture with you guys. So with this here, we do have the Columbian Exchange, which is where ingredients were brought over from Europe and some were taken back over from the Americas. Can anybody jump in and tell me the date that the Americas were discovered? Just let's see if anybody knows this. The year, sorry. Yep, Vladimir 1492. Look at you. My man, yeah, 1492 was the year that the Americas were discovered. Look, it's got the date down to the actual day. Wow, perfect. Yeah, so the Americas
I
were
didn't hear the
discovered.
question.
I'm sorry?
I said I didn't hear the question.
So if you, the question was, what year were the Americas discovered? Latoya, unfortunately, if you have a question, please just hold it off till the end. I do want to make sure that we cover all this information, and then we can just kind of converse and talk about the history or about the food and all that stuff once we do get to the end of the class here. So yeah, we can see here that squash, pumpkins, turkeys, peanuts, potatoes, tomatoes, corn were all taken over to the New World. Tobacco, beans, vanilla, cacao. Think of the Swiss without their chocolate that came from the Americas. And then if you look at the side that stuff came over, if you look at livestock over here, we have cattle, sheep, pigs, horses. All of these things were things that were not in the Americas. When the Spanish came over to Mexico, let's call him the king of Mexico City at the time, the ruler, what they thought was coming over was a god named Quetzalcoatl, which was just a flying serpent god. So they saw these Spaniards all with their shiny metal armors on top of horses. And these were things that they had never, ever seen before. So when they came, they were waiting on their god to arrive. And they were like, this is it. Like, so that is why they allowed the Spaniards to get into their area. They allowed them into their homes. And then, well, we know what happened after that. But things that were brought over were so many things. And we did talk about this last week, the diseases that were brought over. And we did say that syphilis was the only disease that went back to the old world. And it killed a lot of nobles. I just wanted to throw that out again. But we can think of pretty much what some of these cuisines would be. Think of Mexico without citrus fruits, and that includes lemons and limes. There is so much of it in Mexican cuisine right now as well. You think of tomatoes that we talked about last week, going back over into Italy. Tomatoes are something that came from the Americas. So let us continue on with this here. There were two ancient civilizations in central Mexico. You had the Aztecs, and as you head into the southern parts of Mexico, over here in Central America, that was where you had the Mayans. In Mexican culture, one of the things that is very, very important is that there is just so much tradition in this culture. Mexican people are known for being very, very hospitable people. They make you feel like you are family every time you're welcome. My grandma is just the backbone of our family. And this lady, even if she doesn't like you, if you come into her house, she's going to feed you. And it is the most annoying thing in the world for me, where just every 10 minutes, it's, are you hungry? Do you want a snack? Are you hungry? Do you want to eat? Have you ate? And then I'll finish eating. She's like, here, have some more. I'm like, I'm full. She's like, okay, eat more. And it's like, lady, I don't want to eat no more. Like, leave me alone. But they are just super hospitable, always trying to feed people, making sure everybody is healthy, happy. And just Mexican households revolve around the kitchen and around the grandma for the most part. Even though there is a lot of poverty in Mexico, you're going to see that the people are extremely happy and have just a love for life. And that includes death. Death is a part of life that we've accepted. We know that that's the case. And there is actually a day that celebrates that. I did just talk about it, but it's called Dia de los Muertos, which means the Day of the Dead. If you guys have seen the movie Coco, for those of you that have kids, probably have it on repeat for 3 times a day. But that movie is based in Mexico in the Day of the Dead, where you can see these pictures over here. These people are dressed up. We can see the face painting, looking like they have skulls on their face. And we celebrate that. On Dia de los Muertos, people typically go to the cemetery, and we just have a feast over there. We hang out and we just kind of put food out for the dead person. We take their favorite food. We put drinks out for them. If they enjoyed their tequila, lay out a couple of shots for them. And just leave all that stuff there. And there's no crying. There's nobody that's sad. It's a celebration. You bring people that are praying for their families, for their loved ones that have passed on. But we always make sure that we celebrate that. So like I said, it's a Mexican holiday that is celebrated through not only Mexico, but South and Central America as well. And it's usually celebrated on November 1st or 2nd. In Mexico, we celebrate it the 2nd of November. Said it involves families gatherings, just prayers, remembering those ancestors that have passed away. Death is viewed as something that is just part of the cycle. We do actually mourn our family members that have passed away, but on that day, it's not a day to be sad. It's a day of celebration. We celebrate the fact that we even had them in our lives in the first place. And food is very traditional in this. In this culture, it involves just being around your friends, your family, a lot of music, a lot of drinking. Everything in this culture revolves around food and beer. just quick disclaimer for you guys. If you guys ever get invited to a Mexican party and you see that circle of like those guys that are in their 40s or so drinking, do not go near them. You are not going to outdrink those people. Even though they look skinny like me, there is no chance those people will drink until 6 in the morning and be perfectly fine. So I'm just letting you guys know, if you ever get invited to that, shy away from that circle of like 40-year-old men with their hats on. I've been dragged away so many times. I keep trying, but cannot for the life of me keep up with them. So we break it down a little bit more into these different regions. Like I said, food in Mexico is very regional. The north is completely different from what you have in the south. And there is a lot of cattle ranches in the north. Just very, very huge, just beef production. Where this is it is south of Texas here. So this is all considered the north up here. Pretty much all of these border states, California, Arizona, New Mexico, you have this kind of right here, right under it. So a lot of beef here, just straight nose to tail butchery in this area. They eat beef for breakfast, they eat beef for lunch, and they eat beef for dinner. Everything is beef. Another thing that they have in this region is a lot of cheeses and a lot of milk. Again, just everything that has to do with the cow. Northern Mexicans tend to be a lot taller because they do have that European descendants in the north. And then in southern Mexico, you're going to see that the people are typically a little bit shorter because they are a little bit more of that Native American ancestry, where they're a little bit more Aztec, a little bit more Mayan. Funny enough, in my family, I'm only 5'7", but I have some of my uncles and some of my cousins that are 6'4", 6'5". So we kind of got that European influence and the native influence. Unfortunately, I got the literal short end of the stick because I'm only 5'7", but it's all good. I don't mind. The food is definitely influenced by the native ancestry in the south. You're going to see that northern Mexico has a lot more of that American influence in it. So you're going to see that in the north, there's just these giant stores. It's something that has kind of taken over most of Mexico by now, and South America, Central America. In all of these countries, you're going to see Walmart, you're going to see Targets, you're going to see all this thing. But this was something that started more towards the north because of how close it is to in proximity to the U.S. So bigger stores, large grocery stores, you're going to see that they have more of that year-round product, as opposed to when you get to the southern area where the food tends to be bought from local markets. You'll see more street foods in southern Mexico, which are fantastic. Mexico is a country that has a lot of influence from Spain, obviously, because that was the country that conquered them, and a lot of Arabic influence. We'll talk about that once we get to the Spain week. It's a very interesting history between Spain and the Arabic countries up in northern Africa. But one of the main influences in Mexico is going to be the Lebanese people. As you guys know, the most famous taco in Mexico is tacos al pastor. And let me see if I have a picture. Yes, I do. So these are what I call tacos, not Taco Bell. So these are just traditional, just real old school Mexican tacos. You see a tortilla, a meat, onion, cilantro, and it's typically going to have a sauce over the top, and you'll have a lime usually on the side of that. So with this, we can see that they have this thing over here, which is called, let me actually open this one. This one looks nice. It's got the pineapple over the top. This is called a trompo. So this is a very similar cooking technique that you're going to see in the Middle East, in Greece, which is shawarma. So it's a standing rotisserie. Tacos al pastor are thinly sliced meat that goes into a taco with onion, cilantro, and usually you'll get a little piece of that pineapple for that sweetness. I want to let you guys know that not all tacos are created equally. There are many different varieties, different styles, different fillings, and just to name a few, you have tacos de asada, which are going to be the traditional, just regular meat beef tacos. You can have tacos al pastor, which are the ones that we have right over here. You can have tacos de barbacoa, which are tacos that are, a barbacoa is a sauce that is just slowly cooked and it's just kind of falling apart, just has a lot of juice to it. And there's just an infinite amount of tacos that you can make. So Mexico, like we said, has a lot of, and then you have carnitas, which are pork, which is slow cooked in its own fat. So it's a confit, and then it's cut into small cubes and then seared off for crispiness. And that's what's going to be that pork coming in. One of the things that I did want to talk about Mexico is that it has been recognized by UNESCO, which is this, it's kind of this World Heritage recognition, and Mexican cuisine is one of the two that has actually been recognized by this. The only other one is French cuisine, for obvious reasons. French cuisine is one of the just top cuisines in the world. And to get really authentic French food, you have to go there. And that is why Mexico has also been recognized by this. Nowhere in the world are you going to find Mexican food like you can find it in Mexico. Traditions are passed down just from generation to generation. And you're going to see that a lot of it is just the mom passing it down to her child, that child passing it down to the next one. Me, I grew up literally attached to my grandma's hip when I was a kid. Unfortunately, my parents were very young when they had me. They broke up. They left me with my grandma. They would both come visit me, so it was all cordial. But I literally grew up with my grandma. So anytime she was in the kitchen, I was right there, right next to her. So anything that she can make, I can make it, but she still makes it better. And it frustrates me so bad because for the life of me, I cannot cook like my grandma. But another one of these countries that is being recognized like this is actually Italy. So you'll see that, like we said earlier, with pasta making, it's one of these things that is just so precise and so beautiful when you watch these people do it. There's actually a YouTube channel and a website called Pasta Grannies that you can check out. We'll be sure to talk about it once we get to Italy. But it just takes these just old school traditional ways of doing things. Pasta by hand, none of those machines, none of that stuff. It's just these old ladies just going to town on some pasta, and it's so beautiful. One of the most important things, like we said earlier, is just this farm to table movement, right? That seems to be kind of trending in the US now, but it's something that these countries, Mexico, Central America, just a lot of these countries that are third world countries, let's say, they don't have that option to have farm to table. Everything has to be farm to table because it's all they got. They don't have the ability to waste something. So you're going to see that they literally use every piece of every item that they can. Mexico and Central America, both just local, true farm-to-table cultures. They grow their own product over there. There is not a lot of preservation in Mexico and Central American cuisine. You're going to see that they just go straight to it. It's killed, harvested, cleaned, sold, and eaten just immediately. You don't see these curing methods like you see with fish sometimes, where you can salt cure them and they last for a long time. Nothing like that. Everything is just nice and fresh. It's all about freshness, all about local ingredients, all about that quality of the ingredients, making it a generally very healthy cuisine. And with Mexican cooking, you're going to see that there's not a lot of ingredients that go into it. It's very simple for the most part, just nice whole food ingredients that are going into this stuff. Not a lot of spice mixtures and stuff like that. You're going to see there's a lot of salsas that are eating in this cuisine, and they are just, again, infinite possibilities with these things. It's a condiment that goes with most meals. They highlight the flavor and the freshness of the local farm-to-table produce. Also, you're going to see a lot of limes. You're going to see a lot of tortillas are being served with every single meal. As we head further down south, we do go right into Central America, which is right over here. Let me go ahead and reshare my screen with you guys. This one over here. We go right into Central America. So we have the US right above this, we have Mexico, and then we have all of this, which is Central America. Once you hit Colombia, you're going into South America. So in Central America, you're going to see that there tends to reflect Mexican cuisine for the most part. You're going to see that a lot of the influence in this region was pretty much what we had in Mexico, right? Pre-Columbian times, we had just the natives, and they were pretty much always trading amongst each other. You can think of like the trade that they used to have in Europe, where they used to bring stuff from Asia, kind of bring it over westward and go backwards that way with the Silk Road. The natives here had the exact same thing going on here. They would trade from the northern parts of Mexico all the way down to South America. So you're going to see that a lot of the stuff that was used here is relatively similar. But one of the main differences here is that Central America infuses a lot more tropical flavors and ingredients. You're going to see plantains, you're going to see yuca, you're going to see a lot of fruits, a lot of coconut, a lot of guava, pineapple, papaya. These are all things that are influences from the Caribbean. So just keep that in mind. Forgot her name, but she was talking about plátanos fritos earlier, and those are something that you see in Central America. You see that in the Caribbean. So all of these countries here are relatively similar in terms of their food here. Another thing that I did want to talk about with you guys was the African influence in Mexico, something that you guys might not, might be like, what? But yeah, there is a huge African influence in Mexico, especially in Tabasco and Veracruz, which are right over here, right in the Gulf of Mexico. You're going to see that the Caribbean is the essence of this region's food. You're going to see there's a mix of indigenous, Afro-Cuban, and Spanish cuisine that just kind of shares that Creole culture of the colonial Caribbean port towns like Havana, San Juan, Cartagena, and even New Orleans, which is right up here. So this region here resembles New Orleans more than it does the rest of Mexico. So it's a very interesting region. You're going to see that corn as well as vanilla are just massive staples here. You're going to have a lot of herbs being used. One's called acuyo, another one is called hoja santa, and they add just beautiful flavors to the food. You're going to have a wide variety of tropical citrus fruits, like we said, papaya, mamey, sapote is another one. Europeans introduced herbs to this region, so they do use a lot of parsley, a lot of thyme, a lot of marjoram, bay leaf, cilantro, and the Afro-Cuban influence also includes peanuts. Which can be tasted in dishes such as they have a dish called pollo en cacahuatado, which is just chicken in a peanut sauce, which is, again, something that you don't see in the rest of Mexico. Other African ingredients are used here. A lot of plantains, a lot of yuca, a lot of sweet potatoes, which, again, are things that you don't really see in the rest of Mexico or the rest of, actually, you see it a lot of, more resembles kind of Central America and the Caribbean areas. Seafood is a huge deal in these. As you can see, it's right along the beach here. And these states are very thin. You can take a look at them right here. It's just this very thin landmass that looks very similar to like Chile does down in South America. So they don't have much like into the rest of like the inland, I guess you can say. A lot of what they get is just coming from this ocean right here. And then with this comes just unmatched seafood in this region. The waters are just teeming with a lot of distinct species of crab, a lot of crawfish you're going to see in this region. So like we said, very similar to what you see in New Orleans. So just some quick things for you guys here. Rick Bayless, who's an American chef that specializes in actually Mexican cuisine with just more of a modern approach, more fine dining. He takes these old traditional cooking techniques and ingredients from Mexico and just really adds that culinary touch to them, right? He actually interned in Mexico and acquired a lot of knowledge on Mexican cuisine, knowing the history of the food and where it came from. He's able to just represent that cuisine with traditional ingredients and cooking techniques. He's got his restaurants in Chicago, and what he does is that he actually sends all of his training, all of his management staff to train in Mexico for 3 months. So he sends them down and he just makes sure that they understand the culture, understand the food, understand the ingredients, understand how these things are being grown. And here are a couple of pictures of some of his food up here. So we can see right over here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it just looks so pretty. It's got to be something that's like, it's a fish with some type of a mango relish, it looks like, with a orange supreme or something on there. We can see these guys over here, which are oysters with truffle over the top. Just really beautiful plating on these things here. So this is kind of the food that he does now. He takes traditional Mexican food. This looks like a mole to me, and just turns it into something nice and beautiful here. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is in 2008, Mexico produced 350.7 million liters of tequila. For it to be considered tequila, it actually needs to be made within Tequila, Jalisco. I've actually been. It is a just fantastic place. Let me go down over here. So it's in Guadalajara, but it's a smaller city it's not in Guadalajara, sorry. It's in the state of Jalisco, which is relatively close to this city of Guadalajara. It's a beautiful place. I actually went a couple of years ago. We took a distillery tour, and the tequila there is just fantastic. I was able to actually taste the tequila before it was processed. I can't remember what it is called. For the life of me, I can't remember the name. But it's just, it burned really bad. It's just like 100% alcohol content. But it's just a beautiful place. And it's very similar to Champagne, France, where only tequila that is made in this region can be called tequila. Otherwise, it has to be called mezcal. So like anything else that is not made in Champagne has to be called the sparkling wine. So just Mexico has a very similar thing here. Americans actually imported $6.7 billion worth of vegetables from Mexico and $5.3 billion worth of fruits and nuts last year. And who knows how many billions worth of other stuff. But as we very vaguely referenced last week, tomatoes originated in Mexico, not Italy. So I just want to keep throwing these things out to you guys. Just understand where these ingredients are coming from and how they've influenced other cultures. And we'll continue to do that as we go through this course. We're going to talk about Italy without Asia and just all of these crazy things, and just really connect the world for you guys. That is the goal of this class here. Tamales are something that dates back to 8000 BC, which is 10,000 plus years ago. So here we have just a super basic beef tamal. You can see that it's got the corn on the outside as well as some meat on the inside. This is just an example of just a very traditional recipe that have been passed down throughout time and culture. In the north, you're typically going to see that they're wrapped in corn husks. And as you head further south into Mexico and Central America, they're going to be using banana leaves because that's what's more available to them, right? They're using a lot more tropical ingredients down there. In Central America, you see a lot of coffee is drank. It is huge, and I drink way too much of it. Another thing that they have over there is mate, which we'll actually just vaguely talk about right now, but we'll get more into this once we get into South America and Argentina and stuff. But it's just this very, very powerful tea. Ceviche is another thing that is huge in Mexico, which is fish and seafood that is cooked using acid. So you're using lemon to cook these fish and shrimp. There's 3 different ways to cook a protein. One is to heat it. Another one is to cook it with salt, which is salt curing. And then the third is acid. So you put lemon juice or something on it, and it just begins to change color. You're going to see that the shrimp goes from this grayish color to this beautiful pink color. And this is just a traditional shrimp ceviche right here. It's amazing. What else do we have here? Mole. Obviously, we need to talk about mole very quickly before we do continue on. Mole is something that is just a traditional, just old school sauce in Mexican cuisine. Like Chef Catherine was saying earlier, if you think of collard greens when you're in the South, you go knocking door to door, everybody's going to have a different recipe for their collard greens, for their cornbread. And mole is one of these things. Tamales are the same thing in Mexico, where every house is going to do them just a little bit different. There are 2 states in Mexico that claim to be the origin of mole, and that is Puebla and Oaxaca, which are actually both located pretty much right next to each other in the south of Mexico. So they're going to have that battle on forever. And it's the same thing with like ceviche, where you have Mexicans are going to say they made ceviche, Peruvians are going to tell you that it was them. And it's just one of those things that has been lost in time, and there is just no way to ever know the true answer of that. But the classic mole version that we're making this week is called mole poblano, which is known for its dark red or brown color. You're going to see that there is a lot of different varieties of it. There's actually 7 different ones. And I'll actually go ahead and share a video with you guys that I made last term. And I'll actually share it with Chef Catherine as well. I went to a place called El Mercadito, which is just this little Mexico here in East Los Angeles, which is just looks like an actual mercado over there. They have the moles that are just in the giant jars and they sell them to you. Unfortunately, I went during COVID time, so they had everything already pre-portioned. But it's just beautiful to watch and walk through. You see just how like proud and how amazing this place is. So let's just very quickly talk about the legend as to how mole came to be. So the most common legend about this is that it came from the convent of Santa Clara in the state of Puebla in the early colonial period. They heard that the archbishop was coming to visit, so they panicked because they needed to make something to eat with what they had. Unfortunately, the people were very, very poor, so they didn't have much. So what they did was they just took some chili peppers that they had, they took a lot of spices, some nuts, some chocolate, and they made it into a sauce. They killed the turkey that they had laying around. Remember, turkeys are from the New World. This was one of the few protein sources that was available here before the Columbian times. And that is pretty much how they made it. They killed the turkey, cooked it down, and added the sauce on top of it. Modern mole is something that is a mixture of ingredients from North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, making it one of the first intercontinental dishes created here in the Americas. And there is a history of trade between Africa and the Americas before the colonial times. So that is why they had peanuts and other ingredients here that originated in Africa, if you follow that. And Serenity aguachile is one of the just best things in the world. It tastes so good. Funny story about that, actually. I will go ahead and leave you guys off with a laugh regarding aguachile, and Jeremy mentioned habanero. So you guys can imagine where this is going. So one time I was making aguachile in my house, and I was using habaneros, serranos, and jalapenos, which are all relatively spicy. I leave the seeds in, but I was chopping them up. Decided that I needed to go pee after I did that. I quickly rinsed my hands, washed them off, went to go pee, and had to jump in the shower immediately because I was burning. It is horrible. As you guys go through making this assignment here, if you are very delicate with spice or anything like that, wear gloves. Even if it gets on your skin, it can irritate your hand, it can irritate your wrist. It's something that you want to be very mindful of anytime you're working with spicy chili, especially as Jeremy said with habaneros. Those guys are rough. And sometimes you can be chopping and a seed just happens to hit the edge of your knife and it jumps into your eye. That has happened to me before as well. I've been through the ringer when it comes to chilies because I use them so much, but Just wanted to give you guys a quick laugh there at the end. So any questions, guys? Chastity?
Yes, chef. My godmother, she's Cuban and she cooks the yuca. It's like a unique taste. I mean, I can't get used to it. Are we gonna cook that? Because I know that when she cooks it, like I tasted it, but it's not like an acquired taste for me because I'm not Cuban. But she's from Cuba and she cooks a lot of Cuban food and she always cooks the yuca.
So yuca is actually a root. So it's something that doesn't have much flavor to it, but it tastes very, very earthy. I'm assuming that's the flavor that you're like is acquired. Again, tastes a little bit like dirt essentially sometimes. But we will not be making yuca. Next week, we will be using plantains, which somebody else referenced. So I would urge you guys, start looking for those things as well. Plantains have been something that I've noticed has been a little bit difficult to find. And bananas are not going to be a substitute for that, guys. So just be very mindful of that. But no yuca this term.
With the plantains, do you get the green bananas?
I have them in my house pretty much at all times. My wife is Salvadorian, and that is like a staple food.
Like the ripe ones, like the ripe brownish yellow ones?
Depending on the application. Next week, we're going to be making tostones. So you want to have that kind of yellowish green because we don't want it to develop too much sugar. But when you go ahead and make fried plantains, like you typically see in Central America, then you want them to be a little bit darker. As the plantain gets darker, it develops a lot more sugar, loses a lot of that fibrousness that it has. And it just really depends on the application. That is going to be one of the key things that we discuss next week with South America.
Okay. Thank you, chef.
You got it. Jeremy? You're muted.
Okay. So for that sauce, it's a brown sauce we're doing for the momoli, right?
Yes.
So it's easy to find the chocolate. It's that's easy to find at any store, but some things you might so for like the red peppers. So what do we use? Like crushed red peppers, or like as a spice, or should we use or should we just see where we could find the red peppers?
I got you. Give me one quick sec. Let me share my screen with you guys over here. So what you're looking for is for these dry chilies over here. They should look like these guys on the right over here. Ancho is one of the ones that I believe that is on the recipe, if I'm not mistaken. But they should look like this. They should be dehydrated chilies that we should be looking for. Something like this. This is kind of what you're shooting for. These are going to have a lot of different heat levels to them. So I would take a look at the ones that we have on the recipe there. But what you want to shy away from, if you find it, is these little guys here. These guys are super spicy. So if this is the only thing you can find, reach out to us and we can definitely try to figure something out. Because these guys are going to be very, very dangerous. But what you're shooting for is, this is the brand that I usually buy and the one that is readily available here for me. So it's just kind of these bags of dried chilies here. And you should be able to find them. I find them at Food for Less and all kinds of other grocery stores. But again, I also live in Los Angeles, so we have a huge Mexican population here. But yeah, that's kind of what you're looking for there. It should be dry, not fresh chilies.
All right.
Again, I would urge you guys to start using food delivery services like Amazon or just anything like that, and just kind of getting ahead of it. I know Walmart is one that definitely has these chilies. Last term, that was where a lot of the students I had found them. And if they have it in the stores, they probably have it in the online shop as well.
Indeed. And even looking ahead, if you know that you live in an area, like we said last week, if you live in an area where you don't have a lot of access to unique and different products, start looking ahead of weeks and get that bulk order of staple goods that are going to be able to hold, such as, different condiments that maybe you can't get there, and just make one order so that way you're prepared and look ahead. Might be the best way to approach it. All right. Any other questions coming in? I think we are all set. Chef, ready to rock and roll. All right, everybody, class, enjoy the mole, enjoy the tortillas, enjoy the salsa, make a little fiesta. Don't drink too many beers, like Chef Jerry said. but maybe get some tequila, have some fun, and really just enjoy the process, the smells, and the taste and flavor. And if you have questions, please, please, please reach out. We are here to help. If you need clarity on mise en place or how to work on your narrative, we want you to be successful. That's why we're talking to you about this. So reach out to us. We are here to help. All right.
All right. Good night, Chef. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody. Take care.
Good night, Chef.
Nice, Chef.